battlefield.
Every consulting firm, every investment company, every corporation needs market research. But if you've ever had to look for it like I did when I was a consultant at Bain & Company, you know how painful that process is. The average analyst spends 19% of their day researching. For every 5 that show up to work, 1 shows up to search. Companies are paying analysts billions of dollars every year to look for market research. Because the last major innovation in how we look for this type of data was Google 20 years ago. We need a better way. Introducing T4. A web platform lets analysts quickly find comprehensive industry data. Tell T4 what you're looking for. T4 tells you what reports contain the data you need, whether they come from a paid source, like Gartner, or a free source, like the US Census Bureau. How? Let me introduce you to UX and Tom. UX is T4's unified industry classification system, a method of classifying industries that is 10 times more granular than NAICS, the industry standard. Tom is T4's proprietary human-in-the-loop indexing process. Tom ensures that we aggregate a complete set of market research within each industry and index the quantitative data within each report. Let's take the example of Sarah, who's an analyst at a leading management consulting firm. She's preparing an overview of the web security market ahead of a client meeting tomorrow morning. Sarah will begin her search on Google, which looks through a broad set of highly irrelevant sources. She can look at market research aggregators like Statista or marketresearch.com, but they only look through a small subset of the market research universe. Sarah will spend hours looking through thousands of search results in as many as a dozen portals. Then, Sarah discovers T4. Move to demo, please. Sarah subscribes to T4's cybersecurity industry coverage. When she opens T4, Sarah lands on the cybersecurity dashboard. Here she sees industry statistics, recommended searches, and top industry reports rich in data. To gain additional industry context, she can open the UX taxonomy. For the first time, an analyst can see a comprehensive, in-depth view of an industry, its adjacencies, and when data is publicly available, market size and growth in a single viewing pane. As Sarah returns to the dashboard, she begins her search, typing web security market share. The Smart Assist search translates the query into the UX indexing filters. In less than a second, T4 reduces thousands of potential search results into the 4 paid and 1 free report that contains exactly the data Sarah needs. T4 tells Sarah which reports come from top sources, and Sarah can even see what page number the free data is on. What normally takes hours, Sarah just did in 30 seconds. Return to presentation, please. This is possible because UX and Tom enable T4 to comprehensively index granular data that AI does not have the capability to process. It's not just for consultants. We have investors, strategy, sales and marketing analysts who can access T4 through a SaaS license charging up to $2,000 per user per year. 1/20th of what analysts are currently paid to search every single year. Initially, we're targeting the 3.5 million tech sector analysts representing a $7 billion global market opportunity. As we expand our industry coverage, we will scale to the $82 billion opportunity across all sectors. Our team comes from these leading organizations. I have lived and breathed the pain behind finding information throughout my professional career. Our CTO, Yev, has been architecting and building product from the ground up for nearly a decade, including building human-in-the-loop software for testing for the replacement to the Hubble telescope and for a shared economy marketplace platform. Since launching our first prototype just 5 months ago, with coverage of only the cybersecurity and esports industries, we've tested our product with 12 cybersecurity and esports teams, 4 billion-dollar-plus hedge funds, private equity funds, and 2 of the top 5 management consulting firms, informing over $2.7 billion of M&A, saving highly paid analysts 7 months of research time, and resulting in our first paid customer. Today, I'm excited to announce that T4 is launching our public beta with coverage of these tech sector industries. If you are in consulting, investing, strategy, sales, or marketing, and you want to save hours of research every single day, go to www.t4.ai and sign up today. Thank you.
Judges.
Question about budget. I love that you're equating the cost savings here to how much firms are spending on their analyst. But as you probably know, they also spend money on subscriptions to Forrester and Gartner. Can you tell me more, one, about how this fits in with the budget that they spend on those reporting services? And then two, a technology question about how you get access to those sort of walled gardens.
Sure, I'll be happy to take both of those questions. The first question, which was about
money. How do they
pay for it? Yeah, the cost of T4 is a fraction of what a typical firm is paying for Gartner and IDC research. A lot of the corporates are paying several hundreds of thousands of dollars. Someone like Bain or McKinsey, that is closer to $100 million.
So my question with that is, this doesn't get rid of that spend, though. They still have to subscribe to those services and then use T4 on top of it? Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
But currently what we see is for every dollar that a firm is spending on market research, they're spending $2 trying to find it. With regard to the second question, how do we get this data? For paid data, it's obviously very easy to index. Or for free data, it's easy to index. For paid data, we infer what information Gartner's, IDC's, Forrester's of the world have based on publicly available information. We've tested our accuracy with researchers at some of the top consulting and private equity firms, and oftentimes we beat Gartner's or IDC's own search portals.
If I was reading what you said about the pricing accurately, it's per analyst pricing, is that right?
Correct.
So how do you avoid the shared login problem, where like all 5 of us share the same login?
Sure. The problem of shared login doesn't replace the existing problem where a lot of these people have researchers that they can reach out to, a centralized person. But one of the biggest issues with that is it means that there's a long turnaround time. By distributing this across more analysts, you're reducing that turnaround time and increasing the tempo at which an organization or a team can run their business.
How do you think the paid research services will view you guys? Do they see you as additive because ultimately you make their product easier to use, or do they see you as a threat, and if so, why?
We are essentially lead gen for them. When you search on T4, we tell you what reports contain the data you need, and then we link you to that report. In the future, we would like to start creating partnerships with these publishers. We think that there's future potential to have a marketplace where we resell some of their data, and so we think there's a lot of potential for them.
As you've been doing your own research with potential customers, how have you, I guess, sort of, what replies have you been getting to them around no's, and what reasons have they been giving for those no's?
For the analysts or the publishers? The analysts?
Both would be helpful.
Sure. With regards to the analysts, a lot of the initial no's that we might get are when analysts might say, oh, I only have 5 or 10 minutes per day in order to search for market research. When we dig in, it actually turns out they're spending a lot more time. And one of the big value props that we can offer them is we can say, even if you do spend only 10 minutes per day, we can make that 10 minutes the equivalent of 5 hours of research time. And that begins to resonate with them a lot more because this research is essentially informing millions of dollars of potential due diligence process that they're about to engage in, for example, in the situation of an M&A. We are only beginning to engage with publishers, and so we don't quite have that answer yet.
Of the firms that would be your customers, how much do they already realize this is a pain point? Would they all say, yeah, this is a huge disaster for us, we've got to solve it? Or have you guys discovered something that hasn't even really occurred to them yet?
This was a pain that I myself felt at Bain & Company. And before we ever began designing a product, we spoke to hundreds of people across industries to validate that this truly is a pain point across companies. And what we discovered is, yes, this is a pain point. And when we show somebody a demo and show them how quickly they can find information relevant to them, that really hits home on almost every single demo that we ever show.
What's the feedback loop to either the human-in-the-loop product or the AI product in terms of like you're teeing up a bunch of results and some of them are relevant to the analyst and some of them are not? How do you actually make the product get better over time?
I'm happy to take that. Currently, the human-in-the-loop process is in our back-end indexing side. On the front end, what we have done is we show you how we've indexed the results. What we allow users to do is to reach out to our research team in case they're struggling to find some piece of information or if they find something that they think is erroneous, and then we take action on our end, very similar to what PitchBook does, for example.
How about sectors? I noticed that you had networking and data centers and esports and a few others. How do you decide which sectors to add next, and how long does it take you to add one?
An answer in 15 seconds.
Quick.
We decide what sectors to add next based on customer demand and where we see the most activity. And so we decided to do the tech sector first, which we're going to be completing early next year, because that's where we saw the most activity, and that's where prospective customers were saying that's what we want a product.
All right, one more round of applause for T4. Good.